Good morning, students. Today we will study the last section of our running topic, that is the control and coordination. It means we will study today coordination in plant in respect to the movements that is independent of growth and the movements dependent of growth. Here the few things which are essential to know. What are these few things? The first one is that we have seen in the nervous system how the stimulus perceived by the receptor and it communicate, that is, and with the coordination of the different organ or parts of the body, ultimately there is a responses against the stimulus. Now in this entire system or in this entire mechanism, there is a involvement of nerve fibers, and also in the animal body, in the multicellular organisms body, there is another system for this type of coordination, that is the chemical coordination with the help of the hormones. If we will compare these things, these few things with the plant organization, with the plant body, then we have some uncertainty. What is that uncertainty? Like there is no nervous system in the plant. There is no any such type of muscular system, or the muscular tissues or the muscle fibers are present, having the a specific type of protein that have the capability for contraction and expansion, and during the responses when that type of contractile muscular tissue help, then there is a changing in the shape of the body, and that changing during the responses brought by the presence of the special types of the protein, and also the contractile ability or the features of the muscular tissues. All these things may focus in the plant, then we will find some difficulty that there is no any in the plant body, there is no nervous system. In the plant body there is no nervous system, lack of nervous system. Plant body lack of nervous system, and there is also lack of muscular tissues which are a contributing part in the communication system of the animal body. But even after this type of uncertainty in the plant, if we look the first case which I have written here in regard to the movement, that there are two different types of movement in the plant body. The movement which independent of growth, there is a movement, but that movement is not involved the process of growth. There is a movement in response to a stimulus, but that movement is the dependent of growth, that involve the growth of the plant body. Now when we look about these two things, first we may look this one, movement independent of growth. Here the best example is a plant which is known as Mimosa pudica. A plant which is known as Mimosa pudica. In Hindi it is known as Chui Mui ka Pauda, and sensitive plant or छुई मुई का प्लांट या छुई मुई प्लांट। ये छुई मुई जो प्लांट है, इफ़ वी विल लुक अबाउट the stimulus and their responses in the chui mui plant, then we will get answer that in plant also, although there is a absence of nervous system, although there is a absence of any muscular tissue, contractile tissue having the special type of protein, but even they can able to respond, and there will be a communication system also present within the plant body, and that communication system obviously very clear that it is by the presence of the chemical coordinator or chemical substances or the chemical messengers like that of the hormones. But see first some examples and how they can respond. In case of the Mimosa pudica or the sensitive plant, we show a particular type of movement which is known as the nastic movement. Understand? So this nastic movement, and this when they show the movement depend on growth, that is the tropic movement. In today's lesson we will discuss the different types of nastic movement and different types of tropic movement. Tropical movement or the nastic movement. We see the examples here. In case of the Mimosa pudica, what happened? When you will look about the plant or observe, if you will observe the Mimosa plant or the छुई मुई का पौधा, तो आपको पहले ये देखना है ऑब्जर्वेशन में कि पौधे का कौन सा पार्ट को, which part of the plant you are touching, or which part of the plant percept the stimulus. टचिंग का मतलब हुआ स्टिम्युलस, आपने टच किया, टच जो है एक टाइप का स्टिम्युलस है जिसके कारण पौधे में रिस्पॉन्स देखा जा रहा है. अब नाउ द सेकंड इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, फर्स्ट यू हैव ऑब्जर्व द पॉइंट वेयर देयर इज ए परसेप्शन और वेयर द स्टिम्युलस हैज applied. Now the second important thing, just after the stimulus, what is your expectation? What is our expectation? जब हम किसी को स्टिम्युलस किसी पर अप्लाई करते हैं, अगर जैसे हमने किसी गर्म ऑब्जेक्ट को छुआ या हम अगर धोखे में रख करके किसी को कोई गर्म ऑब्जेक्ट दे रहे हैं, उसे पता नहीं, तो हम इस बात की उम्मीद रखते हैं कि वो इसका रिस्पॉन्स देगा. कितना गर्म है उसके हिसाब से इसके बॉडी में रिस्पॉन्सेस दिखाई देंगे. वो अपने हाथ को पुल करेगा, पुश करेगा, तो पुलिंग पुशिंग जब मस्कुलर रिस्पॉन्सेस, तो ये इस रिस्पॉन्सेस का आपको इंतज़ार रहेगा. ये जब रिस्पॉन्स आपके सामने आएगा तो फिर आप उसको नोट डाउन करेंगे. क्या भाई, हमने उसको गर्म चीज़ उसके हथेली पर रखा और उसको कहा कि छुओ, और उसने गलती से इसको धोखे में छू दिया, तो फिर फ़ौरन उसने अपने हाथ को हटाया. तो आप ये जो अब इस केस में भी आप यही देखेंगे कि आपने कहाँ पे स्टिम्युलस का अप्लाई किया, वेर यू हैव अप्लाइड द स्टिम्युलस. नाउ व्हाट इज़ द सेकेंड इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग, व्हाट इज़ योर एक्सपेक्टेशन? योर एक्सपेक्टेशन इज़ नाउ दैट विच पार्ट ऑफ द बॉडी टेक द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी फॉर रिस्पॉन्सेस. अब आप इस सेकंड पार्ट जो है उसमें आप देखेंगे कि इसकी पत्तियां जो हैं ड्रॉप डाउन हो गई, फोल्डेड हो गई. ड्रॉप डाउन मतलब मुड़ जाना, ड्रॉप डाउन हो गई, फोल्डेड हो गई. अब ये पत्तियां फोल्डेड हुई, पत्तियों का जो स्थान है वो क्या आपने टच कहाँ पे किया? आपने टच करने के बाद ये देखा कि टच हम कहाँ कर रहे हैं और उसका रिस्पॉन्स कहाँ हो रहा है. तो ये दोनों का आप जब कंपैरिजन करेंगे तो आपको ये दिखाई देगा कि टच कहीं आप कर रहे हैं, रिस्पॉन्सेस कहीं हो रहा है. इसका माने कि देयर इज़ ए कम्युनिकेशन सिस्टम बिटवीन द responsive part and the perceptive part, and that is why it has been proved by the example that there will be a coordination in the plant body which exhibit with the help of the two different types of movements. Understand? We look here with a diagram. in the entire process with the help of a diagram in a good manner. Here is a diagram of sensitive plant, that is the Mimosa pudica. Actually the Mimosa pudica plant having the compound bipinnate leaves. There are presence of different pinnules at the leaflet. The main part is here, it is the leaf stalk, which is known as the petiole, and you may see here just base of the leaf there is a swelling part, that is the pulvinus. It is very important part is here. You may also see the pulvinules are also present in the leaflet regions. There are smaller pulvinules are also present, that is the pad-like structure, just base of the leaves. There is a pad-like structure. Here is also, and here in this all 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of pinnules or leaflet. There are also presence of pulvinules. So these pulvinules, if you suppose if anybody touching this part, that is the terminal part of the leaflet or the pinnules, then the part which you have touched, here there is a perception, and now it will move slowly and come in the different part, in the downward, in this downward, in this downward, and when after the action, when the stimulus is over, that shock is over, then what will happen? The leaflet will be droop down, that is means मुरझा जाना. ये पत्तियां जब मुरझा जाएंगी, जैसे ही आपने टच किया उसके बाद ये जो है परसेप्शन जो है पूरे इस तरफ जो है इसमें आ जाएगा और उसके बाद ये पत्तियां मुरझा जाएंगी. तो आफ्टर द ड्रॉपिंग डाउन ऑफ दिस लीफलेट, नाउ इट हैज़ बीन ऑब्जर्व्ड दैट देयर विल बी changing in the shape when there is a response by our muscular part of the body. Here that type of changes will be also observed with the help of this pulvinus. In this pulvinus there is a variations of the turgidity. That means maybe the water loss or maybe the water gain. Understand? Depending upon the water loss and gain, there will be the responses that will be in the form of droop down of the leaflet. So this is the way how the in sensitive plant there is a responses occur due to the stimulus. This is the first case. In the this type of movement is known as the nastic movement, where the movement is not the directional means when you will look about the tropic movement, the movement is in whether in the direction of the stimulus or against the direction of the stimulus, source of the stimulus. But here there is no involvement of the growth and there is no involvement of the direction. And this type of nastic movement which you have seen here, which by touch in the touch minute plant is known as seismonasty. Depending upon the various types of the stimulus, here the touch is a stimulus, it is a type of nastic, that is the seismonasty. If there is a light is the stimulus, then that is known as the photonasty. If there will be temperature, that is known as the thermonasty. If there will be some chemical is as a stimulus, then that is the chemonasty. That means there are depending upon the different types of the stimulus, the nastic movement may be of the different types like the seismonasty, photonasty, chemonasty, thermonasty, etc., etc. Once again, may you look that when you touch the pennules, the terminal pennules, after the touching these pennules, all along the leaf, the messages come, and there will be responses due to the changes in the water accumulation within the pulvinus or the pulvinulus. There will be possibilities of the loss of water, or there will be possibilities of the gain of water. You have also seen this type of movement in case of the opening and closing of the stomata. That is also the shape of the stomatal aperture will be opened and will be opened and will be closed due to the turgidity, and if there will be loss of water, that is the flaccid, then there is a shrinkage. In these cases and in that cases, in both the cases, there will be movement of water. It is just parallel to the movement or when the shape of the muscles will be changed during the process of responses. Now come to the second part of the movement, that is the tropic movement. Tropic movement is a type of movement which are in responses of the stimulus, and there is a directional movement. That means what is the source of the stimulus, whether the movement towards the source of the stimulus or whether the movements against the source of the stimulus. If you will look about the germination of a seed, then you will get the easy answer of it, as because you will know when you will observe, like when you observe the development of a seed, what will happen? In the development of seed, the shoot system, the upper part develop, that is developed towards the light, towards the light, and the root part will develop against the light. The light is here, as stimulus. The shoot will move towards the light, and the root will move against the light, against the source of the light. When the light is coming from the sun, that means the sources of the light is here, sun, and the movement of the part of the body, that means the shoot system, will towards the light or will against the light. There will be two possibilities. That means there is a stimulus here, the stimulus, and what is the sources and their direction. If a stimulus is sun, so the sun is sources, and direction, if there is a towards the source or against the source, if there is a movement towards the source, if there is a movement in response to a stimulus towards the source of the stimulus, then that is the positive response. And if there is a against in the opposite direction of the source, then there is a negative response. And as per this concept, there in case of the tropical movement, you may see that if the shoot system move towards the light in response to light, then it is a positively phototropic, and the root system move against the sources of the light, that means negatively phototropic. Similarly, if you will talk about the other different type of stimulus, and depending upon that different types of stimulus, there will be different types of tropical movement. Like in case of the nastic, here is also there are different types, like if the water is the stimulus, if the chemical substances is the stimulus, if the chemical water, chemical substances, gravity or the touch will be a stimulus. Depending upon all these factors of the stimulus, there may be various types, like water, that means the hydrotropic, you may add tropic here. If there is a chemical substance involvement, then that is the chemotropic. If there is a gravity, that means the geotropic. If there is a touch, that is the thigmotropic, and so on. So this is the type of the different types of the tropic movement. But you have I just directly started this one, and but you must know about basic concept of the movement and the locomotion, and then we will look about the other different aspect of this part of the topic. Like when we are talking about the movement, what is this movement? Movement is actually when the part or parts of the body change their shape in response to a stimulus, this is known as movement. आप यहाँ देखेंगे, आपने अब अगर हम शूट सिस्टम की बात कर रहे हैं, तो शूट सिस्टम में नॉट ओनली द स्टेम इज इन्वॉल्व, देयर आर ब्रांचेज इन्वॉल्व, देयर आर fruit, flowers, etc. all are the part of the shoot system. तो वहाँ पे आप देखेंगे कि पूरे पार्ट्स, अगर कोई ब्रांच अगर मूव कर रहा है, अगर इस तरह से कोई स्टेम का पार्ट अगर सनलाइट की तरफ मूव किया है, सोर्सेज ऑफ द लाइट्स की तरफ मूव किया है, तो ये जो मूवमेंट है ये इसका इस तरफ सोर्स ऑफ द लाइट की तरफ, जिसको हम लोग पॉजिटिव फोटोट्रॉपिक कह रहे हैं, तो फोटोट्रॉपिक का जो ये बेहतरीन एग्जांपल है, गुड एग्जांपल है, तो इस फोटोट्रॉपिक एग्जांपल में हम देखेंगे कि ये स्टेम एक पार्टिकुलर स्टेम पार्ट नहीं मूव कर रहा, बल्कि उसके साथ भी जो एसोसिएटेड पार्ट है वो भी तो मूव करेंगे साथ में. इसलिए कहा गया कि देयर इज़ ए मूवमेंट मीन्स देयर इज़ ए रिस्पॉन्सेज ऑफ द बॉडी और द बॉडी पार्ट्स in against the stimulus when there will be change in position of the part or parts of the body. That is the movement. And when we talking about the locomotion, then what will happen in the locomotion? In the locomotion, not only the part or parts of the body, but the entire organism. Suppose if there is an organism at a position of A, and if that organism will move from A position to B position, that means the entire organism now change their place. So that is the locomotion. So this is the terminology and their concept, their meaning. What is the meaning of the movement and what is the meaning of the locomotion? And the locomotion is the special features of the animal. All the higher animals except the poriferian can locomote from one place to another, and the movement is the special features of the plant body. They cannot show locomotion, but in case of the some lower category of the plant like the Chlamydomonas algae group of plant, and not only the plant but the parts of the plant also, like there is a movement of male gamete towards the female gamete. That is the part of that they can move from one place to another. Chlamydia can move one place to another. That is also a type of movement, and that is why this type of movement which are included in your syllabus, that is known as the movement of curvature. That means movement of curvature, movement of curvature. It is, and the movement of curvature is of two types, that is the tropic and nestic, and depending upon the different types of stimulus, the tropic and nestic are various types which you have seen here. And the second important type of movement, that movement of locomotion, that means where the entire position of the organism will change. They may locomote from one place to another, and this type of movement is only one single type, that is the tactic. Just for your knowledge, I have given this idea, tactical movement. That means in case of the tactical movement, the movement is movement similar to that of the locomotion, like that of ourselves. Understand? So this can be only shown by some unicellular organism like the Chlamydomonas. It is an entire organism, and also there are the movements of some specific part, that like the male gamete have the motility capability. They can move from one place to another for the process of fertilization within the water. So this is the some fact about that. Now come to know how the auxins involved during the tropical movement. Here is the example with the important type of movement, tropic movement we are discussing here. The depending upon the different types of stimuli, like when we are talking about the light is a stimulus, or when we are talking about the responses in that light, in response to that light. So the movement of the plant body, part of the body or the parts of the body may be towards the source of the light, or maybe against the source of the light. Here the example that the shoot system will move towards the sources of the light, and the root system will move against the source of the light. But how is it happen? Why the shoot part of the plant, when exposed to the light, that will bend towards the light, that will be affected, that will be controlled with the help of the auxin hormone? How it is possible? Suppose there is you may seen that there is a movement of the shoot system. There is a movement of the shoot system in the plant body towards the light, towards the sources of the light. Then if the sun is the source, they can also move in the artificial sources of the light also. Here is the, you well know that auxins, hormones secreted, or auxin hormones secreted from the shoot tips. When we are talking about the shoot tips, that means shoot tips are root tips. The shoot tips and the root tips are the growing parts. That means it possesses the meristematic tissue. Their cells can divide continuously. That is why from this part, this is the growing regions. So this may be present here. Suppose if you may look like this one, the shoot system. Here are the tips the hormones is secreted here. After secretion of the hormones will not fixed at a place where it has secreted. It will be distributed. It will diffuse to the other parts. May you think that it has distributed in the different regions, in this part of the body. But when it can move from this, when the light is coming from this side, then their accumulation is greater in this side. If you suppose this side is A, and if you will suppose this side is B, where from the light is coming, the side is B, and when there is a no light, dark side, that is the A, then there is this hormone may diffuse to the other parts, but it like to live in the shady regions, that means in the dark part. That's why it accumulate in greater amounts to this side. When it accumulate in the greater concentration in this part, then what will happen? This part will be bended towards the light. This part will be bended towards the, if it will accumulate here, then there will be elongation, and that's why the shoot part will move towards the light. And in this way we have seen the actions of auxin in case of the tropical movement. Similarly, you will see and look the actions of the auxins in case of the other types of tropical movement also. Here the types of movement in plants, what we have discussed so far, that will be in the summary form before you. It is very important. Plant movement are responses. It may be the nestic, it may be the tropic. Depending upon the stimulus, there may be photonesty, chemonesty, seismonesty, thermonesty. Here the very few line is here written. Give immediate response because of change in the amount of turgor. That means you have seen in case of in the region of the pulvinus, when there is a accumulation of water that looks like a soiled part, but after when the water move during the responses, then there will be no firmness of that soiling part. So here that is the seismonesty you have seen. Here the growth dependent response, that is the tropic, gives slow response because of growth, cell division. These are the directional, also called the tropic movement. And what is the type of the tropic movement? Phototropic, geotropic, chemotropic, hydrotropic, thigmotropic. So here towards the stimulus, then there will be positive. If there will be movement away from the stimulus, that is the negative. In case of all the different examples, except the thigmo, you can give the examples for both the positively tropic, geotropic, positively, negatively geotropic, positively phototropic, negatively phototropic, like shoot system, positively phototropic, like the root, negatively phototropic. When we are talking about the geotropic, that is the opposite. Shoot will be the negatively geotropic, while the root will be the positively geotropic. Similarly, in case of the hydrotropic, root will be the positively geotropic, whereas the shoot system will be the negatively hydrotropic. And in case of the chemotropic, there will be movement of parts of the body towards the stimulus of chemical substances, like in case of the process of fertilization. In case of the process of fertilization, during the process of fertilization, when there is a movement of pollen tubes towards the ovule for fertilization, that is due to the secretion of sugary substances from the stigma substances on the stigma there is a germination of pollen grains. After the germination of pollen grain, there is a development of the pollen tube that will piercing the style, माने स्टाइल जो इसका फीमेल के जो पार्ट हैं, जो फीमेल के ये आप पढ़ेंगे रिप्रोडक्शन में डिटेल से, ये हुआ स्टिग्मा, ये हुआ स्टाइल, ये हुआ ओवरी, तो इसको चीरता हुआ, स्टाइल को चीरता हुआ पोलन ट्यूब जो है डेवलप करेगा, जो जाएगा आएगा और इसको यहाँ मेल गैमेट यहाँ से निकल करके फिर यहाँ फर्टिलाइजेशन करेगा। तो ये दिस इज़ द ऑल्सो ड्यू टू द सिक्रेशन ऑफ सम सुगरी सब्सटेंस बाय द स्टिग्मा एंड द स्टिग्मा ऑन द स्टिग्मा, यानी कि इस पार्ट पर ही जो है पोलन ग्रेन का डेवलपमेंट होता है। और इसी पोलन ग्रेन का डेवलपमेंट के बाद ये जो है ये इस तरह से ट्यूब फॉर्म करता है। तो ये एक एग्जांपल है केमोट्रोपिज्म का। इस तरह से आप दूसरा एग्जांपल पी प्लांट का ले लें, या फिर बिटर गॉड का ले लें, करेला, या फिर लौकी का ले लें, गॉड का एग्जांपल ले लें। उस सारे एग्जांपल्स में जिसे लतदार पौधे भी कहा जाता है, उसमें आप देखेंगे फिर एक मरतबा एक्शन वहाँ पे ऑक्सिन का दिखाई देगा, जो कि डेवलपमेंट होता है। ये इस तरह का टेंड्रिल का डेवलपमेंट होता है। ये टेंड्रिल जो डेवलप करता है, टेंड्रिल्स ये स्टेम का पार्ट्स जो टेंड्रिल निकल करके डेवलप करता है और किसी ऑब्जेक्ट को इंटवाइन कर लेता है, इसे पकड़ लेता है जब इसका ग्रोथ तेज़ी से होता है ड्यू टू द एक्यूमुलेशन ऑफ द ऑक्सिन। तो ये सारे एग्जांपल सब देखेंगे इस समय, उतना डिटेल से तो आपको पढ़ना नहीं है। द मेन थिंग्स विच आर essential for the discussion, that is already discussed, and in this way we have completed this topic, control and coordination.